Hello, welcome to OnQA. In this session, we are going to talk about the Selenium WebDriver API overview. So what is that meaning? Basically, so far we spoke so many things about WebDriver, and all the times we could see Selenium WebDriver is an API, application programming interface. So when it is an application programming interface, what is that meaning? How does that look like? And what is inside of it? And how do we understand this API? Once we understand this API, the Selenium WebDriver within it, then we could understand the glance so that we could be able to use it thoroughly. So now I wanted to explain you in detail what is the exact meaning of Selenium WebDriver. What is that inside? How does that look like? When I say API, what is that API? What is that programming interface looking like? And how do we understand the concepts of it? And that is the agenda. So once we have certain clarity of the Selenium WebDriver API, then we could be able to use it effectively in our applications testing. So let's get started. The major agenda, as I said, I don't want to talk anything else other than explaining you the API overview, the API glance, in and out. How does that look like? How do we understand the code within the Selenium? How do we read the code? What are the classes present? What are the interfaces present? When I say WebDriver, what is that meaning? When I say Firefox driver, what is that meaning? When I say get title, what is that meaning? When I say get, what is that meaning? When I say driver, what is that meaning? I wanted to understand the first of all the Selenium API. That understanding, that API overview is all the agenda in this session. Let's go and let me explain you some theoretical part, a logical representation, and then we would understand the actual API part. Basically, this is what our understanding so far when we speak about automation. I wanted to open my application with a URL, and then I wanted to enter a value in the edit box. In my application, I wanted to click on a button, and in my application I wanted to select a value from list box. Once I am done, I wanted to close my application. When we say application, that can be any web application. When you say web application, we need to open that in certain browser. It can be Firefox, it can be IE, it can be Opera, it can be Chrome, it can be Safari. Some browser we need. When I say edit box, it is a web element. Example, text, username or password. When I say web button, it is also a web element like button login or button click. So while we have such implementation, let me compare this with respect to a Selenium script. When we wanted to compare that with respect to Selenium script, this look like this. In my application, I wanted to utilize a Firefox browser. I wanted to utilize a Firefox browser and I call that browser as driver now. In my application, open this URL. So this represents my first step. And I wanted to find an edit box so that I can enter a value. So in my application, so whenever we say driver, it means that WebDriver is represented as a driver. And this driver is nothing but a Firefox browser instance. So in my application, I wanted to find a web element called queue, and I would call that object as a text box or some element. On in this element, I wanted to enter keys or send keys a value on QA. So this is the second method or second step. And then I wanted to click on a button submit. So this is my third step. And then I wanted to get some page title, some verification, and then I wanted to close my application. So this is the last step. So our understanding what we wanted to do about the same thing is being done with the Selenium WebDriver. This is a script explanation. It is not at an API overview at all. It is just a script explanation. I'm trying to make you understand how the script is simple to design, how we can read a script and the logical way that we have the same logical way that the Selenium has inside to be implemented. So this is a script comparison with respect to a test case. But exactly what is the overview of the API? Now let me just continue now. When I continue, just look at this particular information now. You would understand I have created a separate jar file, so-called OwnQA Selenium WebDriver, and this particular jar file has so many methods classes in it. Example, WebDriver is one interface. You can look into this slide. I have created a OwnQA Selenium web jar, and this is a jar file, and it has so many things in it, so many classes, so many methods. So I'm talking about particular WebDriver class, and this particular WebDriver class is a interface. Just like the same way, Selenium also has a WebDriver so-called interface. And this particular interface has got so many methods. Set text on edit box, set text on password, set text on multiple edit box, click on a link, click on a button, click on image, select a value from list box, select a radio button, check checkbox, submit edit box, submit a button, open app, close, verify page title, verify object state, verify certain results. So these are all my inbuilt methods which I have designed. And these methods again can be reused by either my Firefox browser or my Chrome browser or my IE browser. So this is the same implementation that the API of WebDriver, the Selenium WebDriver has. Example, let me still go and explain you. Let me open up the Eclipse. Now what I wanted to do, I wanted to create a new script at this point of time. So let me just go and create a project. I would say again a Java project. This time what I say on QA dot and I would say API. Let me say finish. And now we have a project created. Within this project, what I wanted to do, I wanted to add the build path. I wanted to add my external jars which I have created. Example, not the Selenium jars, the jar file which I have created, especially to demonstrate. So let me just go there. So I wanted to add this particular jar. So this jar file name is onqa.selenium WebDriver. This is very similar to the actual Selenium WebDriver jar file, but to explain you, to help you to understand what exactly is the API, and within that API what we have, so that we can use that effectively while testing the web-based application. I have created this, and that helps you to understand in detail. So let me add this jar file and let me say OK. Now let me close this. Within that I wanted to create a class now. Let me not create any package because I wanted to demonstrate the API now. So let me just go and say new and a class. This time I would say on QA, and I would name that as something called API test or API test. So my class name is OnQA API test. Let me choose the public static void main. Done. Now the same way what we have created, still we have another template created. Now what I wanted to do, let me just go. So far, please remember, we have not added any Selenium jar files. We have added our own API file. How do we use this API file for testing the web-based application? That's what I'm trying to make you understand. So let me just go and say WebDriver, and I would define a driver. And again, I wanted to use my Firefox driver. Within this driver, I wanted to open my application, and I would pass my app URL, and within that driver I wanted to verify the page title. So this is my argument, this is my page or my application page, and I'm expecting a title, something called page title. And again, within that driver, within my page, I wanted to enter a value. I wanted to enter a value called set text on edit box. This time I would say my username edit box, and my username I wanted to enter is OnQA. Similarly, I wanted to use another method, driver set text on edit box. This time my username is done. So this time I wanted to use an edit box called password, and the value what I wanted to pass is called again OnQA. Once done, now I wanted to click on a link. So in my page, with respect to use a method click on link, my link name is login. We are done. Now try to read and understand this particular script. There are no errors at all, and we are able to navigate to a URL, and then we are able to verify page title. We are able to use a method set text on edit box, set text on edit box, and then click on a image. Different methods. What are different methods? When I say driver, you can see so many methods we have. Checkbox, check on a button, click on image, click on a button, click on a link, close app, and then we have something called open app, select a radio button, select a value, and then we have something called set text on edit box, set text on multiple edit box, submit button, submit edit box, verify page title, verify results, verify object state. So many methods we have. And where do these methods come from? So that means they are already existing in the API. What is that API? The Selenium OnQA.Selenium WebDriver is called API, and it has everything inbuilt. Example, if I say WebDriver, you can see that you cannot see the code within it because it is an API. And what is that API? This API has all these methods. All these methods, these are hidden, but still we can use them. And that is what the Selenium WebDriver is all about. We cannot see anything in the Selenium WebDriver, but it has everything what we needed, like all the methods, all the capabilities, all the stuff which are required to touch the web application is everything hidden, is everything captured and made available, ready made in the Selenium WebDriver. We cannot see that, only we need to start using that. How do we start using that? So this is what we should start using that. The best example is this. In this script, we have not added any Selenium jars. We have just added some external jar called onqa.selenium. And this is created by me, where it has all the interfaces just like the same way, and all the drivers like a Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, such that we can still go and use these to test the web-based application. So this is so-called API. API can be only implemented. That cannot be seen because that is encapsulated. That is hidden. All the code within that can be hidden. Only thing, Start using that. Let me also explain you another example. Let me open up that. If you see this, this is my this is the jar file which I've created. Let me again pull it so that you would understand what I'm trying to speak about. So these are the two jars. This is the jar which I have created and it's already there. Let me close it and let me open up that particular jar. This is the jar which I've created and this is the exact Selenium jar file which is available for us. So let me also draw both. Now let me give you the comparison. First of all, let me just go to my jar. This is called EarnQA Selenium WebDriver, where you can see different classes, different interfaces. Let me just go to WebDriver, and this particular WebDriver has so many methods like set text on edit box, set text on password, click on button, check checkbox, submit edit box, open app, verify page title, verify object state. Similarly, we have so many other classes as well. Firefox browser can use the methods what we have written. Similarly, Chrome browser, Internet Explorer, same thing. Now let me open these Selenium jars. Again, let me just go to WebDriver and it has the same methods what we have. Example, you can see that it has a method called open. It has a method called close, method called quit, and it can just do the same activities just like the way we have written. Look at it, can just go back, it can just forward. And what is the open method? That's a get method. Let me cross check where is that get method now. So get method is here. So get method is here. So this uses to open an URL. And what else we have? We have get page title. This is the page title method which is going to get the page title. So it has all the methods in it. Only thing, we cannot see them outside. This is hidden. This is hidden and which is converted as a jar file. Whatever which is converted into jar file, the code cannot be exposed. The code is encapsulated. Only thing, we can use the methods in it. That's what all about the Selenium WebDriver. Example, let me just go and explain you the Firefox browser. When I say Firefox, you can see that this is what we are going to do about. And it has the same methods the WebDriver has. Example, let me say, you can see that get method. Where is the get method? So this is going to get the page title. Let me say get title, that's better. This is the get title. The same method what the WebDriver implemented it's going to do the same thing. The code may not be that easy to understand, but the logic behind is easy to understand. So it has WebDriver. The WebDriver mechanism is to help the browsers to be automated. So whatever the browser that we say, that browser needs to implement all these methods like open, navigate, close, find element, enter a value, select an object, click on a button, verify page title, verify certain thing. All these methods are inherited already there with the WebDriver, and this can be implemented by Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Opera, IE browsers. You can see that, and this is also applicable on different platforms. So this is the Selenium WebDriver API. Just like the way we understood with the normal API what we have designed, like a checkbox, click on a button, click on a link, the same thing the Selenium also is been implemented. I have not done something extra to explain you. I have just replicated the same mechanism what Selenium has, so that now it makes it to easy understand. The code cannot be seen. The code cannot be seen. However, still we can implement that methods because we have incorporated that jar file into our project. Such a way, all the methods within that, all the WebDriver methods, Firefox browser methods, all the methods whatever we wanted can be implemented, used within our test script. So this is all about the Selenium WebDriver API overview. Now, let's not try to debug more into what is API, what is each and every function, method, code. Let's not do that. Since we know it has everything what we wanted, and we know how to plug in into Eclipse, and we know how to use that WebDriver. Driver is my object, and with this object I wanted to drive my Firefox browser, and driver open application, driver verify something, driver get something or do something or find my object. Since we know how to utilize the WebDriver, let's go and effectively use that Selenium WebDriver API into our testing. So that is the agenda I wanted to explain. Hope it is clear. The only fundamental reason what I brought here to explain you is to make you understand Selenium WebDriver is not a tool, it's an API. When I say API, it has everything inbuilt. It's a ready-made thing. We may not see the code within it, but still we can use anything and everything out of it. We just incorporate, we just configure the jar files into our project, and then let's start using as usual. Just like open browser, close browser, do something with respect to edit box, enter a value or send keys, type, verify page title, all the methods can be used. So that is all about the greatness of Selenium WebDriver. Since we understood, the next session we would go and start using the WebDriver in a two different ways. How do we just use the jar files to get started? Second way, without jar files, how do we get started using the Selenium WebDriver to program, to test an application? So that's what we look into the next session. So thank you so much. Hope you liked it. The major concept in this session is to explain you the API. API is everything. It is ready-made. The Selenium WebDriver is everything. Everything that we need to automate any web application across any browsers, across any operator systems. And the API cannot be seen. The API can be implemented. And we need to plug in, we need to configure, we need to use that into our project. And what is that within that API? I have just shown you an example. It has all the methods to open a browser, to verify something, to act upon different objects, to enter a value, to type a value, to select a web element, to click on a link. It has everything that we needed. And that's what now we have seen. Now the next session we are going to use Selenium with the API, with the jar files. The other one without loading the jar files. Also we can use. And we would see that those two methods, and then we would start implementing the WebDriver effectively. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching the video. Please visit earnqo.com. There are so many videos, presentations, articles, books, PDFs with respect to automation, test management, performance testing, and functional testing. Thank you. See you again.